Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to talk about Vitalina Batsarashkina, and this is going to be one of those videos. So what happened here is there's a minor Twitter controversy because somebody took a picture of Miss Batsarashkina competing at the Olympics, and they posted it online, and the caption is, I'll bring up the picture here, "I'm obsessed with the stance on this sharpshooter." So you can see she's got one hand tucked in her pocket, the other is pointing the gun down range. There's a real sort of casualness to her demeanor. And that's, of course, nothing casual is happening here. This is the Olympics. There are some other elements to this picture that also helped grab people's attention. That thing at her waist is a reference to the Witcher video game. So not only is she competing at an incredibly high level, but she's doing so with some style and some panache, and she's unafraid to show off her geekery. I am impressed. I like everything about this picture. That is awesome. So because this was posted online and got a lot of attention, we can see there's over 35,000 retweets. There's almost 400,000 likes. So lots of attention. And so that means lots of people have had opinions, and some of those opinions are not as good as others. We'll go with that for now. So the starting point when we're thinking about this is, how did she do? Well, I've got another picture of Miss Batsarashkina at the Olympics. Oh, right. She's got something in her hand. What is that? Oh, look, it's the gold medal. Not only did she get the gold medal, in fact, but she broke Olympic records. She's got the Olympic record for this event. So I feel like she did okay. I feel like maybe she knows what she's doing. I think that as a starting point, we can assume that, right? Let's have a look at some of these opinions. So this person says, that will have a huge recoil. There's a reason why people tell you to hold the gun with both hands. And of course, somebody quite properly responded, she won gold, right? All right, so first thing let's talk about is the huge recoil. Well, this is an air pistol. Air pistols do not have a huge recoil. You might describe the recoil as something along the lines of the recoil you'd get from an enthusiastic fart. So no, she's not going to have a problem handling the recoil. The other thing to consider is that when you see somebody competing at a high level in any discipline, there's basically three reasons why they might do something. Reason number one is because it gives them some sort of competitive advantage. And, when you're talking about Olympic level or, top of their game level competitors, this might be some little tiny razor's edge kind of advantage, some fraction of a benefit, because of course, every little thing counts at that level. Now, that's not why she's holding this with one hand. The other thing that comes up is the rules, because of course, the rules guide what you can and can't do. They guide what advantages you can and can't have. And the rules of this event say that with respect to the gun, she's allowed to hold it with one hand. And her free hand can't be used to support the gun, can't be used to steady her body, can't be used for anything. So of course, at that point, it makes sense to tuck it away in a position where it's not going to move and disrupt you. So this one here is because of the rules. Now, the third reason why somebody might do something is because they're a badass and they have style. That's why we see she's got, the pattern printed on her blinders. She's got various other stuff going on. So yeah, she would love to hold the gun with both hands if she was allowed. I mean, if you change the rules on this event tomorrow, everybody would be holding the gun with both hands. All right, but this isn't even the dumbest opinion. Let's go and have a look at another one here. Somebody says, I bet she missed a lot of her shots. Sounds like the guy who turned his paper 10 minutes into the testing session. Some thought he was a genius, but we later found out he just didn't know how to solve the problems. True story, by the way. Now, some of these I can't really tell if they're satire or serious. I mean, this is falling into that gap between I can't tell if this is genuine or imitation stupidity. Now, the irony on this one is super deep. Sounds like the guy who turned his papers 10 minutes into the testing session. Gee, do you think you could have done 10 minutes of research before you had your opinion? Because if you had, you might have seen that she kind of didn't miss a lot of her shots. I'm thinking she didn't miss any of her shots. And in fact, yeah, so this is rage-inducing and cringe-inducing, and Why would you post something like this publicly without having to gone and done, the minimal research on this? And then we have somebody else saying, does it look cool? Yes. Will their wrist shatter the moment they fire? Absolutely. Wrist shatter. All right, so we've got this sphere of people who they think they know lots about guns because they've seen lots of movies and they watched lots of TV. And they figure, you know what? This looks real easy. I bet I could be John Wick if only, somebody put a gun in my hand. And so they end up posting ideas or putting ideas out there into the universe like, hey, you don't want to use 223 to hunt deer because you're going to blow up the deer, or you're going to shatter your wrist with this air pistol. I will tell you, you couldn't shatter your wrist with this air pistol if you braced your wrist up against a table, put the air pistol up against it, and fired downrange. You wouldn't even get a bruise from that. I'm not sure that you could shatter your wrist if you took that same air pistol and pointed it directly at your wrist. I give that about even odds. I think that's something that would need some testing, but no, you're not going to shatter your wrist. I actually think you would not be able to shatter your wrist with any of the guns I own, including, trying to brace yourself in that sort of stupid fashion of point the gun down range and put the full recoil on your wrist. I've got a 357 Magnum. I am certain that it would not shatter my wrist or break my wrist if I fired it in that fashion. I'm not going to because that's stupid, but I don't think so. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video of testing the wrist shattering. Yeah. So this guy felt his opinion, which of course is complete ignorance, needed to be put out into the universe. But here's my favorite of the stupid, and it says, when you're shooting as precisely as that, your heartbeat throws off your aim. So they stand as relaxed as possible and still maintain a firm stance. You won't see that among tactical dorks in the US. Well, some of this is correct. Some of this is not so much. I mean, you do want to be relaxed when you're shooting and when you're doing this sort of competitive shooting. But the reason why you won't see this stance among the tactical dorks is because they're allowed to hold the gun with two hands. The rules don't say you can't, so they do. I'll tell you, as I said before, if the Olympics let you hold the gun with two hands, everybody would, because it's a more stable shooting platform. They make you hold it with one hand because it's harder. So this guy thinks that, again, this is somebody with, sort of a video game or movies level of expertise, but thinks he's some sort of genius. This was just, frustrating. I kind of feel like you should assume that when you see somebody competing at the Olympics, even if they're dead freaking last, you should assume that maybe they've got some skills figured out. Assuming that they're not somebody who just happened to, there's not a whole lot of people who make it to the Olympics who don't know what they're doing. We'll go with that. And so, yeah, even if they're dead last, but this is not somebody who's dead last. This is somebody who not only won, but scored an Olympic record. I will tell you that whatever stance she's using to score an Olympic record is objectively a correct stance because it let her score an objective world record. I'll also note that this is not an unusual stance. It's been in use. You'll see this from pretty much all the competitors, and it's been in use for 100 years. People have shot this same stance. But let's assume that her stance was something absolutely crazy. She's standing upside down, on her head and just supporting herself with, she's not using her free hand for support because that's of course forbidden. She's just using her balance and she's using her free hand to juggle a chainsaw as she shoots. If you score an Olympic record doing that, then that is objectively a correct stance because you scored an Olympic record doing it. And if you pulled that off, I guarantee you would see other competitors in future years trying that just to see if maybe it helps. Yeah, this one is frustrating, and stuff like that is why I drink. Anyway, I just thought I'd share my sort of ranty thoughts with you on this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not sure that anybody learned anything here, but there's a lot of dumb sort of stuff going on. And it's, if you want to talk about guns, if you want to say, listen, I've got these opinions and they should be listened to, maybe go to the range and try one. I see this coming up, and I'll sort of transition my rant a little bit here. I see this coming up all the time from people who are real gun control proponents, where they have these ideas about what firearms are like, and they're just so profoundly ignorant that they just kind of reveal that they have no clue what they're talking about. It's like if somebody said, listen, we need to ban cars because they're able to travel through time and fly, and people shouldn't have that kind of power. And you go, do you even know what a car is? Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this to be at least entertaining. I also want to encourage you, if you want, my Patreon is below. I'm also going to have some links related to this story. Actually, one thing I did forget to mention is I'll just talk a little bit about Miss Betzer-Eshkina's background, because I looked into that a little bit, and it's kind of interesting. She got started shooting at the age of 10. Her grandfather took her out hunting, and so that's how she started shooting. So if we want to talk about where do, these Olympic high-level shooters come from, these people that, people can be proud of and so forth, well, they come from people starting out in, in these communities at an early age. So yeah, I really like what she's done. I think she is one of the coolest competitors I've seen, because I really appreciate that not only does she have the skill, but she's got style. And that goes, I think, a long way. Anyway, as I said, my Patreon is below. Some articles about Miss Betzer-Eshkina are also below. I want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level. Jason Elliott, Jonathan Wheeler, Canada's National Firearms Association, Kyle Martin, Jean-Guy Toussaint, Ivo Nedev, the CCFR, the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc-Olivier Damour. And at the $20 level, Matt Ward, Mark Whittington, Dale Nesbitt, and Cameron Johnson, as well as Andrew Elsich. Thank you as well to all the $10 supporters who are in the crawl immediately following, as well as all my supporters. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.